Freedom is the right to tell what they do not want to hear. CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. Tired of the same repetitive government narratives? Then wave goodbye to the distractions and rhetoric of corporate media. For this is Anti-Media Radio.
But I want to get the language right. The big government is in trouble.
You're all a bunch of slaves! Bunch of slaves!
What we need in the United States is not violence and lawlessness, but is love and wisdom and compassion toward one another.
What's your definition of media?
And now, here's your host, S.M. Gibson.
My name is S.M. Gibson. This is Anti-Media Radio. It is January the 24th, 2017. Our very first show in the post-Trump society that we now live in. The era of satire is officially upon us. It seems like no matter which side you look at, whether it's Trump, whether it's his detractors, whatever, everybody everywhere has lost their mind. We're just watching a grand television show that we can't seem to turn off. That has become our real life now. Just today, as a matter of fact, just today, Triple H himself is in front of a hearing, a committee, not personally, but for his mother-in-law to become the head of the Small Business Association and part of Trump's cabinet. That's the world we're living in. We've got a lot to talk about tonight. There is definitely a lot going on in the news. I'm going to go ahead and bring on our co-host, Mr. Shannon Madden. Shannon, what is up?
Living the dream all day, every day. The letters that I'm concerned about right now at the moment are not Triple H. It's actually XL, as in the XL pipeline that has now been signed back into production.
Well, it's not officially what he signed today. He's definitely got the wheels in motion to make it go through, unquestionably. The executive orders aren't a guaranteed 100% it's going to happen, but it looks like that they definitely want it to happen. It's not just the Keystone Pipeline, but it's also.
And when does Donald J. Trump not get what he wants? Come on, man.
And certainly. And it's also the Dakota Access Pipeline, which everyone is well aware of the struggle that has gone on in North Dakota for over the past year over that. So, yeah, here we go again with all that. You know, what's going to happen? I don't know, but you're exactly right. Trump has a way of getting his way on things. What I don't understand, before we even get to the specifics of policy, what really frustrates me is it seems like so many people had woken up to the reality of media in this country. And now, because of Donald Trump, they're running back to the media. And I don't want to necessarily say they're running back to the Democrats. It's a cluster on both sides. I mean, Are there really any words to describe what we're seeing, Shannon? I mean, this is crazy. I mean, it really is crazy.
Well, and again, it's not just the actual physical act of Donald Trump being in office. It's all the things that Donald Trump being in office represent to everybody. And there's a lot of different varying views on who and what Donald Trump is as their president or not their president or whatever the case may be.
You're going to have that. Look, I understand that he comes as an extra divisive figure. I totally get that.
Probably more so than any other, at least in my lifetime. And we've been through some pretty polarizing characters as far as president of the United States goes. Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, that guy. Just to name two. And of course, our outgoing president. Our outgoing president has caught a pass on a lot of things.
Here's the thing, though, I want to say real quick, though, before you're right. I definitely think, because we saw it with Bill Clinton, the country was very divided over him, George W. Bush, and even Obama. But I think this isn't about necessarily Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump is a representation of where we're at in society.
And Donald Trump is to be fair, Donald Trump has willingly climbed up on that cross and begged people to throw tomatoes at him. I mean, he has pushed it to a level that we have never seen an American, especially on the national level, an American politician do. I mean, he is just bold and brazen and brasher than any that I can remember.
Way bigger than Donald Trump, and I think, especially the media, but mainstream media at this point is a joke, and people need to remember that. And just because I get what Donald Trump is, totally, I understand it. But just because the media says something bad about him, you can't just cling on to it because you don't like Donald Trump. Because look, the media, that's what they do. We're looking at both sides here, and neither side is good. The media didn't just automatically become good because Donald Trump's bad. That's not how this works. But what I wanted to say is this is our society now. We are this divided as a society. And Trump represents where we're at in our culture today, but it is not Donald Trump. This is where we are at in 2017 in the United States of America. He represents that division, but this division is across the entire country. And people love to talk about, well, Donald Trump has the lowest approval ratings of any president this early on into their first term of office after this close to being elected. True. Guess what? So would Hillary Clinton. She would have had the exact same low, horrible approval numbers. People overlook that. This man that has these terrible, horrible approval numbers, guess what? Still beat Hillary Clinton, still beat Ted Cruz, still beat, 16, 17 other Republicans or whatever it was. This is just where we're at in society.
I've got to ask, though, why was it such a pressing national issue that we move forth with this pipeline this early in his administration? I mean, couldn't this have waited a month? I think there's more. I don't think it's the actual physical act of him signing this. I think this is a middle finger. And where is that middle finger directed?
I think with that, whether you like it, you hate everything that he does, whatever, Trump is going to do stuff. You can agree or disagree with the stuff that he does, but he's going to do stuff, and he's going to.
I think we're all on record to strongly disagree with the pipeline going forward.
Oh, certainly, no question. But a lot of it is, I think he is beholden to friends in the industry. I think there's another part of it. I mean, to play devil's advocate, I think there's another part of it that he's, 70 years old. He didn't grow up in no pun intended, an environment where you care about the environment, and he's money oriented, and he sees it in his head as this is a way to get jobs. Now, is that necessarily, it's not really the reality because they're temporary jobs, but also, and it goes back to who he's beholden to.
If I hire a construction crew with a bunch of backhoes and wrecking balls and all that stuff and go and destroy where you live right now, I'm creating jobs. Regardless of how you feel about whether I'm destroying your house or not, that doesn't matter. I'm creating jobs.
That's correct. You are. And I think that's how his brain works, personally.
So what happens when the pipeline's built? So we've got those jobs taken care of, but the pipeline's built. So we've got a few people left to maintain it. So I don't know what they go work at the next pipeline that runs through.
Right. Yeah. That's a good question.
Sacred Native American land. I mean,
that's a good question. It's not my plan, so I don't know what the long-term strategy is with that one. But I do partially think that's what he thinks. And it's a day after he gets rid of the TPP, which I think is a good thing. I think we're going to see this with Trump. I think we're going to see a handful of good things and then a handful of really bad things. I don't think they're going to, balance each other out in any way, shape, or form. I don't know what they're going to do. I think it's going to be like a reality show every day. I mean, we're 2 days into this. He's going to be signing executive orders right and left. The only executive orders I think should be being issued is to dismantle previous executive orders. It's no secret to anybody that the less government interference we have in our lives, the more free we're going to be. But, to what end?
To what end? That right there is a very, very pointed and powerful question right there.
Certainly. We've already seen...
Particularly with some of the other stories that we have to talk about tonight. The one involving China, because you mentioned the TPP a moment ago. Yeah, that's kind of a really, really big thing.
Let's look real quick. We could go off in a million directions here. Before I go into the next thing, just let me say this first. Okay, we've got Trump's foreign policy. Trump, like every politician before him, has said good stuff about foreign policy, and he said really bad stuff about foreign policy. Which Donald Trump are we going to see? Chances are, if you're going to place a bet on it, it would probably be similar to what we've seen the past 16 years, and maybe a different form in different directions, and maybe aimed at different areas, possibly. But I would be willing to bet that it's going to be similar in action, even though it's going to be probably different with the players. The hostilities with China seem very real right now, especially over the trade stuff.
And here we were worried about going to nuclear war with Russia.
Right.
Out of the two, I think I'd probably pick Russia over China, because China could destroy anything that they want to. They have the manpower, they have the nuclear weaponry. They are not to be trifled with at all.
Yeah, China is not a joke, and they're certainly not somebody to mess with, unquestionably. I still think a lot of what Trump's going to do is a question mark, and maybe that's because I'm not positive if Trump knows exactly what he's going to do. Some of it, clearly. The pipeline stuff is definitely not good, because if he was genuinely concerned about energy independence, which I think is valid, then it's time to start looking at alternative energy, because we have the technology. Look, it's
way past time. It is so way past time.
That's it.
And where we're at on the global scale, as far as harnessing wind energy, solar, etc. I mean, we're just light years behind other developed civilized nations.
And so there's kind of good to it, but then there's a lot of bad to it. And if it was really trying to find the right solution, I think we're going down the wrong path for that. We definitely have the technology to be energy independent. Just not that way. Again, it's 2017, and we're still doing this. It makes no sense to me. We've seen drone strikes already take place since Trump was sworn into office on Friday in Yemen, which, that hasn't been a place that's been publicized all that much as far as our involvement in that war. It's been mostly Saudi coalition led, even though the bombs all did come from the United States. But how much more of that are we going to see? Trump hasn't brought the troops home. Trump hasn't, gotten us out of these countries yet. There's rumors that they're going to get us out of Afghanistan. Maybe. That'd be good. I would applaud it. But, does he move them just to, somewhere else? Does he bring them here? I think so much of this is wait and see. For the millionth time we've said on the show, I don't know if you can trust him as far as you can throw him, but what politician isn't that way? One thing I want to ask you about, Shannon, and you know me, I'm all about civil disobedience, protest, getting out in the street, letting your voice be heard. What happened this weekend? What were they protesting?
Again, this is more about Donald Trump, the ideology, than Donald Trump, the man, and the as Hillary so eloquently put it, the basket of deplorables. The people that are shouting "There's no safe spaces" and sneering at the safety
pins and so
on and so forth. Again, an ideology that seemed to have flared up and gotten a lot of free press, I might add, during the campaign. I think I really honestly believe it was more about that. And so, yeah, if you're protesting an ideology, which we all, any sensible people, kind of know that it's nice to be nice to people. If you're nice to people every once in a while, people will be nice to you, and so on and so forth. Very basic human concepts.
But let me say this, okay? We've had, over the past, I'll just say 4 years, we have seen countless bombings around the world by U.S. foreign policy absolutely causing destruction. We're talking in the second term, the last 4 years, the second term of a Nobel Peace Prize winner. We've seen at least in that time period 7 countries bombed.
And that little accident down in Philippines, but yeah.
We have seen police officers shoot and kill Americans in the street without justification. Now, of course, sometimes that happens, but we've seen many instances where it's happened without justification whatsoever, and the police officer gets away. We've seen a justice system.
But I have to throw this in right here. Do you think, having said what I said about Trump the ideology, do you think that Trump the ideology is going to flare that up as far as police being more emboldened to go out and?
Yes,
I do too. I do too.
But we've seen actual legitimate injustices take place in this country and around the world, and people won't go out and protest. Do you realize the message that could have been sent over the weekend if the people that were protesting had just been aimed a little bit in any direction other than just walking around with pink hats on and letting Madonna and Ashley Judd get up? The change that can take place when people get together is powerful, but there has to be a clear definitive message. There has to be something that you want to achieve. I still don't know what people are trying to achieve. Look, I'm all again for people getting out there and exercising their right, but I don't understand what the actual point was.
And again,
they
we
have
can't stress this enough, because we're kind of going into that conversation about whether the protesters were valid in their protest or whatever. We are not Donald Trump supporters. We do not in any shape, form, or fashion support that man or his policy, at least up to this point from what we've seen. And it looks like from just the few items that we've listed, he's already pissed off China. He is doing away with the TPP, which, we do have a story up that kind of spells out a little clearer how China is actually going to benefit from that. And that's the role that China has in the international community overseas, and the deals and the term escapes me for the moment. The actual term that their version of the TPP that they've already introduced to countries overseas that are now kind of getting behind China. There's that. I don't see anything good coming out of this. I really don't. But at the same time, I understand people's frustration again with Donald Trump ideology.
I do too, but I don't understand the frustration after we've just seen countless bombings, countless injustices, and nobody said a word. It's because people are brainwashed by the media. And now that the media has told them and put this spotlight on Donald Trump, everybody's all of a sudden up in arms. I get it. I get Donald Trump. I genuinely do understand the frustration.
But where were those people protesting when we were bombing 7 countries?
That's what I'm saying. And their next protest that's supposedly planned is for April the 15th. And it is going to be a protest, but about Donald Trump releasing his tax returns. Why? First off, we know that he probably didn't pay any taxes as far as certain aspects go, because he admitted it in a debate. It's something we know. Second off, I guarantee you somebody that high profile without running for president and somebody with that much money, the IRS would be all over them if they weren't doing exactly what they were supposed to do according to the law. Now, if they are released, it's going to be terrible on him for PR reasons. But as far as actually doing anything legal, I don't think there's going to be anything there, and they're going to get released, and it's going to be mud on his face, and it's going to look silly. But is it going to change anything? No, I don't think it'll change anything. What I think people should be out there protesting, which it doesn't even cross their minds, is on April 15th, tax day, is a tax policy that hasn't represented the interest of the citizens of this country for a long, long time.
Quick question. How do we pay for all those bombs that we dropped last year? I believe it was well over 20,000.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. And we don't see people protesting that we're in all this debt. Not genuinely, not like the turnout we saw on Saturday. And the turnout we'll probably see about his tax returns. And the people's frustrations, which are valid, seem to be channeled through all these petty areas when people just need to focus and say, look, Donald Trump is not the cause of the problems here. Now, he is a representation of something that you don't like, and I understand that. But Donald, this is his second day in office, or second real working day in office. He got sworn in on Friday. Did our problems just magically just all drop down from the sky 5 days ago? No, they didn't. So people need to direct their energy in something that can a positive change, something that can actually change. hold Donald Trump accountable, please. By all means, let's hold Donald Trump accountable. Let's hold him accountable in the correct avenues of when he's trying to do something that does not serve our interest. Not just down these rabbit holes of your tax returns. I don't see what that accomplishes. And not in the big scheme of things. I don't see what it accomplishes. That's just me. And it's just so much division, though. And there's this, you're pro-Trump or you're anti-Trump. Sorry, guess what? To be honest, I'm really neither. I don't care. I'm me. I didn't vote for Donald Trump. I'm a human being that I don't feel like I'm going to get sucked into the whole, are you for him or are you against him? I'm going to punch you or do this or do that. And who cares? It's childish on all ends. Look, Trump, look at how he acts. He acts childish, and the people going against him are acting childish. It's both sides that I see. Maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, this is what happens when you finally get that man on your block that screams, "You kids get off my lawn right now. Go home and cut your hair." He's finally made it. Those people have been voting and voting and voting, and they finally got that guy in office. Get off my lawn. Get back behind on your side of the yard, and I'm going to build a big giant wall up. In fact, I'm going to make you pay for it. Yeah, I'm still waiting for that one. That's going to be the right. He's got 100 days to get started on that.
Which, again, for the millionth time, laws work two ways. I hate to tell that to people, but the law makes zero sense. Shouldn't happen. Don't know what it's going to accomplish. But whatever, that's what people should be protesting, I feel. That is a genuine cause of concern of people to take the streets and say, hey, look, you may have won the election, but we don't want this wall. Don't build it. And I'm completely be in support of that. And you see me out there marching and walking with people. That's a valid thing people can go after. I don't see any good coming from that. It's just these brainwashed ideologies. I'll say this, Shannon. I definitely think, like we saw with 9/11, there's pre-9/11 world, the 90s, how things were, and then there's post-9/11 world. And I think, having remembered both, you could say with certainty that that's two different worlds we lived in. I think we're going to have a post-Trump world and a pre-Trump world now. I think everything's different from this moment on. To me, it really genuinely seems like an age of satire. None of this seems real. Like, this seems like a big, gigantic joke.
Well, one story that's up on the antimedia.org right now, China just issued a nuclear warning to Donald Trump in the United States. Since we're on the topic of what this man might do, and we've alluded to it, China has already pretty much started their propaganda machine through their state-run media over there. And this is actually came out that it said in recent days, China's social media has carried pictures purporting to show an advanced intercontinental ballistic missile system deployed in the Northeast. It was described by China's state-run Global Times in an editorial piece as a nuclear solid-fuel road mobile system with a range of 14,000 kilometers. I think that should be able to reach the United States. And a payload of 10 to 12 nuclear warheads that can target anywhere in the world and is widely considered one of the most advanced intercontinental ballistic missiles.
I think that's important to reiterate, can target anywhere in the world.
And I dare say that we go anywhere even close to China with a ground force, despite how technologically advanced our military may think that we are. I don't see us in any scenario, anything good coming from a war with China. I just don't. Bombing couple huts over in Pakistan may be one thing, but we're talking about, a serious nuclear power.
Well, here's where we have an issue, a legitimate issue, which clearly everything you just said is, where their dispute right now is in the South China Sea. There's some artificial islands there that the U.S. claims are not part of China, that China says they are, and China says the United States has no business even dealing with it. And the U.S. actually said the U.S. is going to make sure that we protect our interests there. It is a question of if those islands are in international waters and not a part of China proper, then yeah, we're going to make sure that we defend international territories that are being taken over by one country. In response, China's foreign minister gave a statement which reiterated its unchanging position of its claims of sovereignty, calling those claims irrefutable. The spokeswoman said the United States is not a party to the South China Sea dispute, and that China wants the U.S. to respect the facts, speak and act cautiously to avoid harming the peace and stability of the South China Sea. So for right now, we have, I won't say necessarily clear and present danger, but we have an immediate issue ongoing with China. As far as territory in the South China Sea, we've also
I'm looking on a map over here, and I don't see America anywhere close to China at all. No, not at all.
Well, when you've been policing the world for the past 70 years, it's hard to break that and get that out of your system. And guess what?
Sounds like China got something for that ass to break that system. Trust me.
Oh yeah, I don't think they're going to back down from anybody. And that is on top of, a trade war that's very, very possible breaking out between the United States and China.
So in other words, our trip to Walmart's fixing to get a whole lot more expensive.
Well, Walmart.
Yeah, I said it.
Who knows?
Walmart is not in the favor of the American government now. They don't have a Clinton to hide behind. It's every man for itself.
I want to go ahead and finish real quick with what we're talking about. The same editorial piece, it finished and also suggested that China's nuclear capability should be so strong that no country would dare launch a military showdown with China under any circumstance, and such that China can strike back against those military provoking it. A military clash with the U.S. is the last thing China wants, but China's nuclear arsenal should be able to deter the United States. The way that reads to me is almost going into a Cold War with China, because let's get realistic here. China can defend itself. We can defend ourselves. We've all got the technology to start launching weapons back and forth with each other. The United States, most people, younger people don't really know or remember, but the United States lived through this for a long time with the Soviet Union. They had capabilities, we had capabilities, and it was who was going to budge first. It sounds like we're going down that road with China. What's going to happen with Russia post-Trump? I don't know. I mean, that's been the talk. We've talked about it, endlessly on this program, especially the propaganda and the threats coming from both directions and this, that, and the other. I don't know where we're going to go with that. I don't think Russia is an immediate threat to the United States. I never did. I think Putin is whatever Putin is, and he runs his country like a tyrant, and he does what he wants to do. Unfortunately, I don't live in Russia. I'm not going to stand up and scream and decry every move that they make, because we have our own problems in this country where my tax dollars are going to.
Exactly. Why are we even talking about Putin or what China does or what Assad does, or so on and so forth. Why are we so involved with what everyone else does and completely shut out the fact that we ourselves bombed 8 different countries last year? Name, I
It
don't
wasn't
know,
last year, but it was over the past 8 years that it was at least.
excuse me. Last year we bombed 7. Yeah, out of those 7, though, well, just name one other nation on the face of the earth that bombed 3 countries.
The UK.
Okay. Yeah, because the UK is usually side by side with whatever America does. Follow the money.
Yeah, the UK is usually right behind us.
Yeah.
But they didn't bomb as many as we did, for sure. That being said, it's, you know, the United States, is not in the position financially, I don't think anyone is in a position necessarily morally, maybe, to police the world, but especially not the way the United States has gone about it. An interesting story that we have right now on the front page of the antimedia.org, former CIA agent came out about an intelligence report of 1983 that confirmed the United States had urged Saddam Hussein to invade Syria. For those who don't know, current Bashar al-Assad, his dad was in charge before him, part of the Assad family. So it was his dad that was in charge at the time. They wanted Saddam Hussein to attack him, but it was because of the closure of an oil pipeline. What people don't realize is that so much of what we've seen in Syria over the past few years is you hear this piece of propaganda, this is why we have to do it. Ultimately, it's all gone back to resources. It's alleged that in 2009, Qatar put forward a pipeline proposal that would run through Syria and Turkey. 2009 now, and which is right when everything started kicking off over in Syria. And it would have ran through Syria and Turkey and been used to export Saudi gas. The Syrian regime turned down this proposal and instead forged an agreement with Iran and Iraq to run a pipeline into Europe, cutting out the Gulf states completely. We see that when there's all of a sudden the United States has a problem with human rights of some country, it's because they had just done something that is not in the economic interest of the United States or its wonderful, great ally, for whatever reason, Saudi Arabia. Because when you look
and at one point in time, wonderful, great ally, Saddam Hussein. This is amazing. So we were friendly with Saddam Hussein at one point in time?
Well, yeah, who would have ever thought and remembered that? That's something I don't think, but the same can be said for Osama bin Laden. People need to remember, this is not conspiracy. Osama bin Laden was trained in the United States. That is a fact.
CIA.
And Saddam Hussein was a great friend of the United States. That is a fact. And then when their interest didn't align anymore, they became a scapegoat for something else. And they became the great boogeyman, and they were terrible and horrible. Now, did those people just automatically become evil overnight? Is it that the United States aligns itself with bad people because of its interest in those areas? We can look at Saudi Arabia as an example. We can look at Iran. Before the revolution in Iran and what we had installed there, that was a oppressive, terrible regime. Guess what? Iran's not much better now. It's still bad, whether they've got what they have now or what they had when they had then, but it's about who the United States can control. And it's not... There's so much gray in the world, and everything becomes this black and white. You're for this or you're for that, and there's no in between. And we're seeing that right now with the whole Trump garbage. you're for it or you're against it, blah, 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 blah. That's not the way the world works. That's the way that the media wants you to believe the world works. That's the way the government wants you to believe the way the world works. But it's not reality. There's good and there's bad with everything. And you have to look at the actual facts of something before you can determine whether it's worth or not. Now, in the case of what's going on in the Middle East, I don't know why the United States has tried to police that region for so long. Unfortunately, I believe I do know, and it's, of course, over resources. But why? Again, why? Why are you all these people having to die? And now let's get realistic with what Obama did. We have the technology now to limit American casualties in those regions because we've got drone strikes going off all the time over there. We have airstrikes going off all the time over there. The reason we don't see outright wars, and it's not something that you're going to see on the news every day, is because of technology. That doesn't mean that we're not there. That doesn't mean that we're not creating the chaos for whatever reason, for people's greed. We have to take a stand in this country. We have to, the first thing before I think any of that, I say take a stand. People took a stand over this weekend, but for what? What were they taking a stand for? I think before anything, people need to get on the same page of actual reality and get outside of this propaganda that's been shoved down their throats for decades and decades and decades, and realize that everything in this world is not black and white. It's just not. And you have to look at things for what they genuinely are. You can have, did you know, Shannon, that it's possible that Saddam Hussein could have been a very bad person, Gaddafi could have been a very bad, terrible person, and yet the United States didn't need to get involved? Can you believe that's even a possibility?
Oh, yeah. Oh, most definitely.
But when but we live in a world where you say, what do we do that for? Well, Saddam Hussein, nobody's defending Saddam Hussein. It's like the whole Russia stuff. You sit here and say, what are y'all talking about? Why are y'all, spewing all this crap about Russia to start a war with them? Well, Putin's blah, blah. Yeah, you're right. Putin's not good either. We get it. But that's not, it just, all right, go ahead. I'm frustrated now.
So let's see here. We now have a WWE Hall of Famer as President of the United States. We had all these marches, and they were glorious, grand, wonderful marches for all of the people that were so upset by Donald Trump and, all of the things he represents and so on and so forth. Check. Let's see here. The TPP's off the table. Yay. China's threatening nuclear war. Check. Yeah, things are going pretty much about how I kind of figured it would be during the Trump presidency. And we're only, what'd you say it was? Day 2? Day 3?
Day 2, really. He's got tomorrow, he's tweeted out tonight. First off, his original tweet was misspelled. I'll actually read the tweet to you, what he sent out. Big day planned on national security for tomorrow among, and he spelled among, AMOUNG. Among many other things, we will build the wall. And then he deleted it and retweeted it with national security in all caps for some reason. But, so I guess that's what we've got to look forward to, national security in the morning. We'll see what he does. One thing that Trump did do yesterday, and I know people have a problem with this, I actually don't have a problem with it at all, was he signed a federal hiring freeze with an exception of the military.
Yay!
Yeah, I think that's a good thing. I think that we need to assess what we have going on in the government before we start hiring anybody. I'm sure there's a lot of people that could be let go. So yeah, call me cold and callous, but I think a hiring freeze for the immediate time being is good and should have happened a long time ago. It should have
Oh
happened.
yeah, it's definitely not going to hurt. Definitely not going to hurt at all.
That's the thing, and I think this is going to be the big thing with Trump. Like I said, I think he's going to do a couple of things. Like, yeah, that should have happened a long time ago, and then he's going to do some other stuff, and you just got your head in your hand, being like, why are you doing this? What is wrong with you? Why would you ever think that's a good idea? I think that's what I think that's what his presidency is going to be. Some stuff that you go, yeah, that should have happened a long time ago. And just the rest of it, you're like, why? Why are you doing this? That's a horrible idea. Did you see today where, of course, the media is all up in arms that Sean Spicer, when he was doing his get together with the press today, pointed out or said that Trump believes that 3 to 5 million voters voted illegally in the election. Why this is being said, I have no clue whatsoever. Whether Trump believes it or not, and of course the media wants to make it out, this big thing.
Wait a minute, he won the election. Why does he even care?
Right. Why does he even care? Why is he saying any of this? And of course, he didn't say it. Sean Spicer said it, but he let it be known. Yes, this is what President Trump believes. I believe, I've said this for a year now, so I'm not just coming up with this. He does this stuff on purpose. He says this crazy stuff, and he may believe it. I don't know. But he believes bad press is good press. He's never ran away from a controversy. He would, in fact, not only run away from controversies during the campaign, once one even started, he would go and stir it up and make it even worse. He loves having the camera on him, and it's like if he can control just getting his name out there. And in fact, I actually looked this up today. Let me see if I can find the quote. Because after that was happening, it makes no sense whatsoever, no matter what the man believes, to say that at all. It's the stupidest political thing he could say or do. I mean, there's no logical reason why it's even being discussed, regardless of what he believes. No one with a brain would come out bragging and basically that they believe this. Okay, so there is a comment from, I believe it was over the summer. It was an interview with a guy named Jim Dowd, who's the CEO of Dowd Inc., who also happened to do public relations for Trump from 2004 to 2010. This is something he said, which kind of backs up everything I've been saying for the whole election and would give a little bit of explanation for what came out today. Trump is of the mindset that the more his name is dropped, the more of a kind of hypnosis, for a lack of better word, there is to the American public. He thinks that even a negative piece is a positive piece for him. This is coming from a guy that did Trump's PR for 6 years, Shannon. This is how this man thinks.
Well, and we're on, what did you say it was, day 3, day 2?
Yeah. Like,
it's going to be a long 4 years.
It's going to be long 4 years.
We thought this election was long. Gosh.
Especially if that's the game he's playing. I get, as twisted as it sounds, I get running a campaign that way. I can't see running the country this way. This is going to be bad. Like, this is going to be chaos for 4 years. Because there's a big difference between running a political campaign and leading the country. Huge difference. And I thought the entire time when it came to running a campaign, when it came to PR, when it came to getting his name in the paper, getting headlines, I believe Donald Trump's brilliant. When it comes to leading a country, that's where he lost me. I never thought he was the guy to do that. I never thought he was the guy to be the president of the United States. And I don't know if he's capable of doing it. I don't know if he's qualified. But it doesn't matter what I think. It's over and done with, and he's won. He's the president. He cannot run this country the way he ran that campaign. And day 2 in, it looks like that's what he's going to do.
Yeah, him signing his little piece of paper on the pipeline was definitely the middle finger, and that middle finger was directed towards the 50%, and I expect that number should be growing, of the people that did not vote, that did not participate in this election at all, or people that voted alternatively outside of the two-party paradigm that was being shoved down our throats. That's where that middle finger was directed. And I'm curious to,
he won because of people being upset with the two-party system, though, and he knew that. He knew that was his.
Absolutely. And he's rubbing their nose in it because he asked the camera. I mean, like I just said a moment ago, and you've pointed out on this show many times brilliantly, we have a WWE Hall of Famer sitting behind the desk at the Oval Office.
Yeah, that's important. Yeah, that's important. And he's gotten that for show. He's a showman. And they asked him yesterday, why did you only do the 3 executive orders that you did? It's clear, obvious why, but the answer, is the obvious reason. And the answer given was they would all get muddled up. Why would we do that? Why would we release all these things on day 1? And what he's going to do, who knows how long he's going to do this? But there's going to be a handful of executive orders every day, maybe every day this week, maybe 2 weeks, maybe for the next 100 days. But 2, 3 to 5, maybe 1, but there's going to be something big every day that he's going to do to get headlines.
Boy, he is going to keep Congress busy because they're going to try to undo every single thing that he does. Every single executive order that flies across his desk is going to be intercepted down at Congress with a sigh.
I think you're wrong about that. I don't think they'll go after everything.
I guess it really depends on how many tweets and shares it gets, because that's really what's dictating American policy, at least as far as some of this stuff goes. The other stuff, the other 90%.
Let me ask you this. Do you disagree with what he did with the TPP? I don't.
I can't. I mean, we've spoken out very plainly on this show against the TPP.
Do I disagree with what he did today with the Keystone Pipeline? I absolutely do. And that's, I think, that's the thing. I don't think Congress is going to be incentivized to overturn all these executive orders.
Well, I mean,
the
pipeline has been kind of a headache and really kind of an eyesore for the United States government. So, yeah, for them to be able to completely just wipe their hands of it, yeah, to go ahead and send in a few troops and kill anybody standing, and we'll say that they fired first.
Well, again, a lot of this is show. Those executive orders passed today didn't automatically mean, boom, they're building it. This is, we're going to go negotiate it. It's like what he signed with, was it Saturday night or was it Friday that he did it over Obamacare, the executive order.
And I got to say this because it is
a whole lot. It was a show. It was symbolic that, he didn't overturn Obamacare by it all, because, if you go and read the executive action, it all starts with in accordance to the law, which he doesn't really have much authority to do much about it. What he basically did was they can't add anything to Obamacare. They can't mess with it till they overturn it because they have intentions of getting rid of it. So that's what I think a lot of this is a show. This is what we're about to do, guys. This is what we're going to do. I don't think that means that the executive orders are actually saying we're doing it. His executive order on TPP just withdrew the United States from something that had already not passed. It wasn't like it was going through. We have to remember that it wasn't a done deal, and he saved us from it. it was pretty much already dead in the water, and he just pulled the plug. So,
but most of your average American, flipping through the channels, let's stop on Fox or CNN for a moment. They don't understand that. That's the first thing that they're going to see, particularly for his constituency, is, okay, great, saved us from the TPP. And then, of course, the other side's going to say, well, wait a minute, I thought the TPP was supposed to be good somehow, some kind of way. And look, China's pissed off about it, so it must be bad. Yeah, I told you, that Trump guy.
Well,
and he doesn't care as long as you just pointed out a moment ago, as long as his name's in the headlines.
Well, I think it's funny today, CNN was pushing the whole China deal down people's throats about how, we're helping China. But look, Bernie Sanders was massively against the TPP. Donald Trump was massively against the TPP. Once Hillary Clinton figured out that's where people's mindsets were at, that's where she said she was, she finally came to after she said it was whatever, the Rolls Royce or whatever idiot comment she made about it. She finally settled on to get elected that she was against it. Now, of course, the second she got elected, she was for it. But so even, Hillary Clinton being against it at the end says a lot, because she goes with, the popular opinion. And that's where the majority of Americans were, I think. Especially when you've got Trump and Bernie being so against it. But look, it was a good thing, whatever it was, even if it didn't, wasn't this huge grand thing, it was good. The United States is done with it. It needed to happen. But today, like I said, the ones they put in motion today, not good. I'm really curious to see what we do tomorrow, especially concerning national security. That could mean a lot of things. A lot of things. I think it's possible that Trump brings troops home. I think it's possible that Trump takes more troops over. I think either or is a possibility. That's what's so scary about him. Who knows? Roll the dice and find out what tomorrow brings. We could have 10,000 troops in the Middle East extra by next week, or we could have 10,000 troops home. Who knows? I have no
Essentially,
idea.
We are living in the middle of Donald Trump sitting down to play a game of Risk.
Yeah.
Man, that's a scary thought.
I mean, we are definitely living in a post-Trump society of satire. That's what this is. I used to, what did I always call it? It's the post-Kardashian society. Well, we're far past the post-Kardashian society. That led us to that reality.
This is in Trump, baby, in big, giant, huge, bold letters, Trump. There's no past, present, or future. This is where we're at right now.
But what's so, ironic is that reality show culture that became ingrained in us. This is what we've got now. We've got Omarosa, literally a contestant from one of his shows, is now his assistant on TV speaking on behalf of the United States of America. That's where we're at. We have Triple H today watching his mother-in-law become a member of the President of the United States cabinet. This is this is it. It's all
sad. Now, to be fair, the McMahon family has had just struck an indelible mark on American society, and I think they should be rewarded for that in some shape, form, or
fashion. Let me tell you something. You can laugh at this, you can whatever, but I've said this for a long time now, and it's all proven to be true. You can gauge society by watching pro wrestling. You can. It's the only thing on TV, 20,000 people a week, chanting, screaming, and you can see which direction the American people are going by theater. Because the whole world has become theater. We will be back on Thursday. Hang on for Jake. He will be coming up next. Nick will be tomorrow night for Anti-Media Radio. For Shannon, I am SM Gibson. Anti-Media Radio out. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo.
My name is S.M.